So today I want to talk about what we call pray, okay? To pray, praying, etc. I think it's a interesting word or interesting concept because come to think of it, it stems from a belief that is not like scientifically explained or scientifically proved, right? There are religions which are like some of them are really widespread around the world, like Islam, like Christianity, etc. And some of them are not. Some of them are like local, the religions, like what kind of people. I would say, I mean, I am going to say primitive, not in the sense that I want to underestimate those people, but like there are those primitive people. They are still experiencing, they are still practicing their religions, which are like from 2000 years ago, 4000 years ago, so on and so forth. So, I mean, praying comes from religions that are not scientifically proved or that has no scientific foundation whatsoever, okay? So it is a word, it is an action that doesn't have any solid, I don't know, foundation. Okay. So it is weird, come to think of it. But if we are not talking about religions as whether they are true or whether they are wrong, let me think. So religions are needed if we are trying to talk here in terms of science. Religions are needed because there is this world that we don't know about in this 100% way. So we have uncertainty in us, and that uncertainty make us anxious, okay, about lots of things. And religion is a concept that helps us in that specific case that we have anxiety, we get anxious about lots of things, and it makes us less anxious, okay? Religions are in this world because people found them in the first place because they were feeling anxious, okay? The other point, or maybe the other explanation for this is like, people came to this world, they ate things, they thirst, they slept, they, I don't know, shit, they pee, they had sex, and then everything finished, their all needs were satisfied, and then they had free time. And when they had that free time, they started to dance and they started to sing, which are like religious practices, the very first religious practices. In that sense, religions are like, how do we say it? How do we say kutlamak in English? Religions were like saluting, okay? It was like saluting the world, the nature, I don't know, the world, everything in it, the sky, the sun, the moon, etc. So praying is, I mean, I think we have a feeling why praying is right, why praying is natural to us, but we don't have any explanation. That was my point. That was what I was trying to say. And recently I started to pray, and my praying turned into something really different from what I was expecting I was going to get. Because I was thinking about the past prayers I had, I did like my childhood and whatnot. Because, from from a very early age, I started to pray. I mean, there are like two kinds of praise I am talking about at the moment. First one is like namaz. We say it in Arabic. I don't know the word, if there is a specific word for it in English or whatever. So namaz is like you have to make some specific movements and you have to say some specific things in a orderly, arranged way, okay, in namaz. And you cannot change anything about that very specific structure, okay? So praying in terms of namaz is like a, I don't know, guided thing, okay? You just follow what you are being guided to. And the second praying is that you are free to think about anything and you just want things from God. Please, God, have me this beautiful tarot deck or whatever. Okay. I am going to talk about two of them. Yes, but what I really want to talk about is the second one. Okay. And I will start with that one as well. The second kind of praying, the one that we are, really free to do, was not that good for me in my past. My experience was not that good with it in my past because I always did it after my first kind of pray, like namaz, and I was forced to do namaz, okay, in my childhood. And I hated doing it. For instance, in the namaz, in the process of namaz, you should read silently, let's say Fatiha. There is this, I don't know, surah in Quran that you should read it in your mind during the namaz, okay? And I was reading it in my mind, but I was also, I don't know, swearing, to God, to my parents, but mostly my mother, because my mother was the forceful one about praying about Islam and whatnot. So I wasn't doing my job properly because I was being forced to do it, and I hated that feeling, okay? If I don't want to do something, and if that very thing is like not compulsory for me to do in order to survive or whatever, then why this pretentiousness? Why this show of force? Why this importance that thing has? I wasn't getting the point. I mean, they were saying to me in order to not to go to hell or whatever. But I mean, who says what is hell? How do we know that is real? I was like asking my mother, how do we know that hell is real? And she was telling me because Quran says so. And I was saying like, how do we know Quran is real? And she was like, no, this is so fucking wrong. What the hell is wrong with you? How can Quran cannot be true? So there wasn't this, I don't know, beneficial dialogue between us, okay? And the problem was my mother in that case. I wasn't the problem. I was a curious, natural child asking solid, valid questions, and she wasn't answering me properly. And somehow I was thinking in that wrong way because I was the problematic one. That was her argument about me, against me. And that argument still is not like accomplished in any specific way between me and her. The only thing that changed is I started to work someplace and I started to earn my own money and I started to, I don't know, live my own life in my own specific way. So this is my home. I got my rules. I apply them. I don't apply them. I don't like, I don't have to explain myself to anyone. At least like I was explaining myself to my mother and father. So this is my way of saving myself from that stupid argumentative way that I experienced for more than 15, maybe 20 years. Okay. So there was this misguided religious teachings that occupied my childhood and even my adolescence and even my first years in my adulthood. Okay. So I don't want to say traumatic here because trauma is about something really, really, really serious, I think. But I think they were in a way traumatic for me. You know, all I think about is religion now. I mean, I am in love with some specific woman. I think about her a lot. And then I think about God a lot. You know, and I know that people don't think that much about God like I do. You know, for instance, my sister says to me that the you say Allah most of the time. The word that you are using the most is Allah. My sister says that, and some of my friends say that to me as well. And I am, you know, realizing that fact is real, you know, because I hear them talk about things and they talk about their jobs, you know, their dreams, their, I don't know, relationships and whatnot. And most of the time, when I am spending time with them, I am taking the subject to God and I start talking about God. So sometimes I just think whether I am doing this because I am loving doing this, or maybe I am still traumatized and that's why I am trying to get my answers and whatnot. I just cannot differentiate whether I am doing this because I love it or whether I am doing this because I am traumatized. Most probably, both of them at the same time are true, okay? But anyway, that's a weird concept, okay? People kill each other in the past, now, even nowadays, that is happening because of religion. And religion is not something like this solid, okay? It is not something that you can hold, or it is not something you can be 100% sure about it. I mean, yeah, you can be 100% sure about it when you have religious experiences, but even after them, you start to forget how those experiences made you feel, you know? And because of that, that 100% that 100% T, you know, it just starts to go away after some time. So even you don't have it. I mean, we know that from, let's say, Prophet Muhammad, that there were lots of times he was suspicious of what he was doing or what he was his point in doing all of this or whatever, okay? So knowing that those big religious figures, even those figures were in doubt from time to time, and I mean more than time to time, okay? They there were lots of instances that they were seriously in doubt and God helped them because of the fact that God helped them, they kept going on, you know. And we are talking about something that unsolid, let's say. And still we see people kill each other, you know, people manipulate each other, people force each other into doing some specific movements in the name of religion, in the name of namaz. And I experienced this firsthand, you know. I mean, there is this experience. I am going to tell it because I feel like I need to tell it. Once, like, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, my mother was praying and my sister was really young at the time. and she was about to fall from the balcony to the ground. And if she was going to fall, then she would have died, most probably, because we were like third floor or whatever at the time. So there is this, I don't know, more than 10 meters distance between the ground and the balcony. And the ground was like, raw. It wasn't like grass or anything. It was a brick wall, okay? And my mother didn't finish her prayer immediately and go and get my sister and bring her to the outside, the other rooms and whatnot. She didn't do nothing. She continued praying, and she knows at the time that my sister in a really dangerous place at that time. But she didn't do anything. Instead of her, my father or my elder sisters, one of the elder sisters, I'm not sure who, saved my little sister from the potential of falling from the balcony. We don't know whether she was going to fall from the balcony or not, but we know that she was about to fall from the balcony until one of my other elders, father or elder sister, saved her. And come to think of it, I these days realize that it was so devastating for me to see that a mother can abandon her child in order to have a really intense religious experience. But I don't want to call this as religious experience because I think religious experiences should be really big things, like some kind of, maybe you see God, or maybe you feel the God's presence, or maybe God talks to you, or maybe some really important religious figure like Prophet Muhammad, Gabriel talks to you or whatever. And I am not claiming my mother experienced those important religious figures at the time and whatnot. But I know that she was praying, in a normal, regular way. She was doing namaz. And she had namazes for like 20, 30, 40 years maybe at the time. I'm not sure how long or how much. And most of her namazes, like 90% of them, are like stationary, stable, regularly motions, okay, like hand motions, leg motions, and whatnot. So she wasn't having something so special she would even sacrifice her own daughter, okay? I mean, I am thinking there is no way I would not save my little daughter, you know. I will just cut the namaz out, yani. Even if even if I would be told by some higher power that either you are going to continue praying and then you are going to go to heaven forever, or you are going to save your sister and then you are going to burn forever in hell and whatnot. It's still the second option is right, I think. I mean, in a very obvious way, because there is this child, like 3 years old, like 2 years old, maybe even more, even younger than this. I don't know. So she is helpless, you know. She is not in her right mind, she is not old enough to differentiate what this life is about and whatnot. And you're not saving her. This is stupid to me. This is like whether you are going to go to heaven and live there forever, or your little sister is going to go to heaven and live forever. Of course, she should be the one that goes to heaven. She's small. She's so small that she doesn't know what is right and what is wrong. If she was like 30 years old woman, an adult woman, then I would consider which one of us should go to heaven. But feel like a heroic figure still would choose the other guy or woman, no matter what, because if the choice is up to you, then you would feel responsible for not choosing the other person. But choosing the other person would make you feel like you did the right thing, you sacrifice yourself for some other person's happiness, and that would be okay, okay? So I am to this day still thinking about why my mother didn't let go of doing namaz, and still it hurts me deeply, and it still poisons the things I have about Islam in my head, okay? And like 1 or 2 weeks ago, I realized that I don't want that poisoning stuff happening in my mind, in my life. Because because of the fact that religion was such an important thing in my childhood, I realized I did let go of my childhood and I wasn't thinking about anything in my regarding my childhood. And I realized I don't want this. I want my childhood back, no matter what, okay? And because of that, I started to accept Islam to my life. I mean, this wasn't the only reason, but me wanting my childhood back, this was the main reason, yeah. This was the main reason why I went back to Islam after all these years and I gave it one more chance. And what I found in it now these days is wonderful, okay? I mean, I am praying like doing namaz, and I am praying like wishing things from God. I am doing two of them as well. Like I am doing the first, doing namaz, and when I am done with namaz, I am praying in a old-fashioned way, like everyone else in this world does. And it makes me feel wonderful, okay? Because I think saying things, explaining things that you want from life is really healthy and is really relaxing to a person. Because when you start doing it, you start realize that some of the things you say you want to have are not the things you actually want. You start realizing this. Because when you put things that you want in a sentence in your head, you realize that that sentence wasn't what you were expecting that sentence would be. Let's say, I mean, not let's say, I am in love with some woman at the moment, but I realized when I was praying about having her in my life, that wasn't actually what I wanted because I am not sure if we would be in a relationship with her. I don't know how is it going to be in the future. You know, maybe we were not going to be happy and whatnot. So thinking about this possibility, my praying turned into, God, please give me, God, please, I don't know, make me be with a person who is going to make me happy in a healthy way and whatnot. And I am going to make her happy as well. So I pray for simultaneous happiness from both sides at the same time in the future if I am going to be in a relationship with some specific person. Okay? So this is the healthy way to pray because in this scenario, there is no way you can lose. The only thing you can lose as a potential, as a probability, is the current love situation you have at your hand. And because of the fact that it is current, you are prejudiced about it because you are so in love that you can't see what is right and what is wrong in a really objective way, okay? Because of the fact that you are in love, you want that person in your life and no one else because you don't want to see or you don't want to feel anything about anyone because you are in love, okay? But when you start pray, as I said, things explained in a sentence after sentence way. And when you try to put things in a sentence, most of the time sentences are not what you expected them to be. In that case, praying is helpful to a person that prays. In the same way, writing is helpful for the person who writes because in both of them, you realize some of the things are not that good, which you were expecting them to be that good when you didn't do them, but you were just thinking about them. Because thinking and explaining is very two different things, okay? They are so different that stop doing one and start doing the other one is such a leap of faith for a person to do that it can be counted as experience, as something original. It is that different. It is that different. So there is that, okay? There is this thing that my family involved people who were experiencing or practicing religion in a wrong way. And that wrongness, that I don't know, that fault in their religious practices made me get really, really, really cold about religion itself. Now, as a 25-year-old adult, I know that I was a child at the time and I felt in danger because I saw them, the most protective, most strong, powerful figures in my life at the time, would abandon me for their religious beliefs. And thinking that a parent can abandon his child for a religion that they don't know anything about, you know, not I am not saying 100%. My mother's religious knowledge is really not that good, I think. It's really not that advanced in any way. I mean, my mother only reads books that are like talking about positive things about Islam. She never looked at the negative side of Islam in terms of academic, I don't know, knowledge or and whatnot, okay? And I am not saying all this in order to blame my mother because I blamed her for a really, really long time. And it didn't bring me anything satisfactory about my thought process, about the things that I think about. And because of that, I just let it, I just did let her go, you know. Not for her, but for myself, because it was such a weight to carry, you know. And I didn't like that feeling of having this much of weight in my shoulders. And I also know that she loves me and she does her best and she is not 100% problematic and whatnot. But that specific mistake, the fact that she didn't let go of her praying at the moment, like doing namaz at the moment, and go and saved my sister. Because of the fact that she didn't do it, I am not going to forgive her for that unless she openly accepts She was wrong at the time and she is sorry for that. She is sorry for not doing anything. If she says that openly, then I am going to forgive her for that. I mean, I am waiting for an apology here, yeah. I mean, I forgave her in a really general way when we were met, like the last time we met, it was summer. We were making a holiday together and she made some fish for us, okay? And I realized when she put the, I don't know, fish in front of me, I realized that she did this, she prepared food for me for more than 15 years, maybe 20 years, okay? And she, washed my clothes. She, I don't know, feed me when I was sick and whatnot. So she was a good mother, come to think of it. Or at least she did her best and she did lots of things. She sacrificed lots of things. So thinking about all those, it just came to me as not fair, as not forgiving her just because she made a big mistake, okay? So realizing that at that moment, like some 4 months ago, 5 months ago, I realized I need to forgive her. Generally speaking, I need to forgive her. So I forgave her and I said that to her. And she forgave me too because I mean, I am not sure I am that I don't know, fair in terms of thinking about myself. But I think I can safely say that when there is this second person was in question in my life, but specific second person's safety, let's say, in consideration, nearly 99% of the time, I sacrifice myself for the other person's well-being. So I didn't talk about this in a proper way. Let's say there was this situation A, okay? And in that situation A, there were two people in question. The first one is me, and the second one is person X, okay? And that specific conditions involved an outcome that would either make me really rich and that person, the second person, person X, leave that, I don't know, situation in a really, really poor condition, or the first person, me, would leave the situation in a really poor way, let's say in terms of economics and whatnot, and the second person live in a really wealthy way and whatnot, and there are no third options, okay? Either I am going to lose something really big and I am going to lose something really big, or the second person is going to take something really big in terms of like economics, and I am going to lose something really big. When the situations were like this in my life, 99% of the time I sacrifice myself because I never saw economics, I never saw money as something really important that I should sacrifice some second or third or whatever persons or people's feelings, okay? I just don't know what the other specific person is experiencing in her or his life at the time. And not knowing about anything, that specific thing, made me always suspicious about just getting the good things and going home. I also know that I still had things in my life that were like positive, but they weren't like really valuable things. But still, I mean, they weren't valuable in terms of economics, but they were really valuable because I was enjoying my life with really, really small things. Playing Spider-Man 2 was a great experience in my life. And it wasn't like playing Spider-Man 2 in my personal computer made other people really poor and whatnot. It was a small thing that gave me great pleasure and didn't harm anyone else, okay? So things like that were the case in my life. And because of that, I was a happy child, happy person. And I didn't know whether the other person, like person X, had those small but really happy experiences in her life or in his life. And because of this fact, I put those two things together and I realized most of the time, if the conditions were, equal, and the conditions were like either one person gets really rich in the consequence of the other person's being really poor. I always, I 99% of the time, I am not remembering that 1% instances in my life. Just just need to be sure because of the fact that I feel like I need to be sure. I am saying 99%. Not because I am remembering instances that I don't know, sacrifice other people in order to be happy. Saying that I remember things that I did unfairly to other people in my childhood, but I feel like I don't have to count them as sacrifice or unsacrifice, or it was fair or unfair. Because I was a child at the time. I don't feel like I can be blamed for them. I wouldn't blame a child for her or his mistakes. And I feel like I don't want to blame myself as well because I know that I was a child and I was thinking in that really stupid way. And because of this, I simply cannot be blamed about it. Let me think about it. So I am not feeling like I am making unfair decisions about my mother, about the things I think I know and the things I think she knows. I know for a fact she isn't searching for un-Islamic ideas because she fears she is going to let go of her religion and she is going to go to hell. I mean, that's a valid point as well. Because she, in 100% certainty, thinks that everyone abandons Islam is going to go to hell and burn there forever, okay? To me, that's a stupid way of thinking because there are like, I mean, I can say for 100% certainty that a good Buddhist practicer will not go to hell. There is no way a proper Buddhist will go to hell. I mean, why? He or she didn't kill anyone. He or she didn't cheat anyone. He or she didn't harm anyone. Why would a proper Buddhist, let's say Buddhist, would go to hell? I mean, for instance, about Judaism, not Judaism, Jewism. Is it Judaism? I think it is Judaism. I know from Torah, I read Torah, that some Jewish people will go to hell because they are so extremists that they are sacrificing every kind of nation, every kind of religion in this world in order to get vengeance and whatnot. Okay? This is so extreme to me. And seeing that in the Torah, I am like, what the fuck, man? They were like searching for a misfortune in this life, you know. It is so unfair. I remember a passage in the Torah that says you should go to other nations and you should act like you are their friends and you should, I don't know, occupy them. You should conquer them in a really hideous and slow manner that they should not get aware about your real intentions. And when you are done, you should be their leaders because you are Jewish people and they are not Jewish. Because of the fact that you are Jew and they are not Jew, you should conquer them in a really hideous way and you should, I don't know, rule them in a really dictatorial way and whatnot. And this is bullshit. Okay? When there is bullshit in front of you, you should say it is bullshit and this is bullshit, bro. You just cannot simply be better than a person because you are Jew and that other person is not Jew. Okay? There is no way you can make people, I don't know, convinced about this fact being true and whatnot. But that doesn't say all Jews are bad. I know, like, I mean, I don't know specifically in my personal life that good Jews because in Turkey there are not much Jews to go and see. But I am guessing, of course, there are people like practicing Judaism in a really healthy and in a really peaceful way. I remember the guy I saw from YouTube. That guy was Jew and he was like really sweet, really kind person. Okay, there was this video, a Muslim, a Christian, and a Jew person, three of them like smoking weed and talking about their life. And they, three of them were like really old, like 60 years old, 70 years old, and whatnot. And they were talking in a really sweet way, okay? That Jew guy, he is going to go to heaven for sure because he is this peaceful guy, you know. But the people I talked about, like, you know, in a hideous way, conquering the other countries and whatnot. This is not good, yani. This is not healthy. This is, he is or she is not going to go to heaven, you know. And I know, like, there are Muslim peoples that say ishit. Okay, I don't know how English people know about ishit. Ishit is the Turkish word. ISID, I don't know whether it makes you realize what I'm talking about or not. They are going to go to hell in a really straight manner. You know, there is no way they can go to heaven because they are hurting other people in a really nonsensical way. Hurting people is not something good or right, okay? There are really few instances you should hurt other people. For instance, if your children is like threatened by other people, then you go and hurt those people. I would kill people if they were like hurting my children, you know. I wouldn't think about it twice and I wouldn't have any regrets after doing that specific thing. There are instances like that. You just go and hurt other people. But if you don't have instances like that, hurting people is a really cursed thing to do, okay? And it comes to me as Torah tells their religious people or their community to hurt other people in a really vengeful way. And this is bullshit. And there are Jew people. who sees that as a really extreme measure to take, and because of that, they are not extremists in that specific way as well. So I am like really, I am having pride for them. I am proud about them because that person is a Jew, like their mother, their father, let's say, thinking in that extreme way. And they are like, resisting against their mothers, their fathers' way of thinking. I mean, I am not resisting against my mother's, father's thinking patterns in that specific way. Yes, there are things that I am resisting, but that specific Jews resisting would be more hard to pull off. So that specific Jew is doing something really hard to do, harder than what I am doing right now. Seeing that makes me proud about what that specific Jew person is like, I don't know, struggling for, experiencing in his or in her life. So that's it, yeah. I feel like I am not talking about really good things in a really good way today. So maybe I should just cut the crap, close the video before it gets even worse, let's say. But before I close, let's pick a tarot card, yeah. Let's pick a tarot card about, let's say, what should we do in life, yeah, for tomorrow or whatnot. And a card held down, let's say what card it is. It is Yeshe Tsogyal. Tsogyal. How to pronounce this shit, yeah? I am not going to say anything bad about you. I am just, I simply don't know how to pronounce your name. I have no bad intentions. If I, in a way, did upset you, I am sorry, okay? And there is this Yeshe, Yishi, I don't know. Lady of the Lotus Born. This card came to me really, really much, yeah. You cannot read it, right? It is too bright and whatnot. Let me read it for you. This card comes to me all the time. There is a specific thing I need to see or I need to understand that I am not getting. Maybe this time I get it. Embodiment is the deepest bliss. My body was made for enlightenment. So it talks about body, and I am not in peace with my body. Still, not in 100% way. So there is no, it is no coincidence that this card comes to me all the time. So it came for you, maybe it was, maybe it didn't. This is for you to decide. Let's pick a different card from a different tarot deck. Okay, what is our question? Yeah, what we should do like in the future, or maybe even now, what we should do now, or what is the message that we need to get from the universe about our life. And it is Six of Wands. So that's a good card. It's a card of victory. You had your victory. People realized you had your victory. And there's a really, really specific image about my life in this card. And this card tells me you are going to have a success. I mean, I will decline and say, no, I am not going to have success and whatnot. But seeing that specific sign in this card, I am like, okay, I need to consider this card in a serious manner. I am deciding. Okay, I am going to think about it, bro. So, Six of Wands. Do you feel like it comes for you? it came for you, you know. Think about it. If you feel like it is about you, then you think about it again in a really deepful way, or as deep as it goes, I don't know. Or if you feel like it doesn't belong to you, then just let it go, you know. It wasn't meant for you. But both cars I picked, they meant for me, I felt like. So I am getting their messages, or I am trying to get their messages. So I don't think there is anything for me to say in this video no more. I don't feel like it was a good video, yeah. But we'll see. Maybe it was not that bad as well. So let me think one last time before I close the video whether there is something else I need to say. There isn't. You take care, people. Stay safe, stranger.